snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so I am here today to do a book review, and the book that I'm going to be reviewing is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. This is by Becky Chambers, and I was very kindly sent this by Hodescape for review. So I'm going to tell you guys exactly what I thought about it, and I'm going to tell you guys honestly what I thought about it. But that's going to be pretty easy because I adored this book. It was phenomenal. It was spectacular. It was the best science fiction book I've ever read. By far, by a mile, by 100 miles. It was so good. So good. If you guys have read Ready Player One and The Martian, which are two of my other favourite science fiction books that I've read in the last year or so, they're exceptional. This is so much better. This is like leagues better, guys. It's so good. Okay, let me try and calm down enough to tell you what this is all about. I began reading this at the end of Booktubeathon. I didn't get it finished in Booktubeathon, but I did finish it the day after because I read through this super fast. It's only 400 and something pages, so it's not particularly long. But my god, guys, it is so good. It is fantastic, and basically Hodescape picked this up as a publisher. It was self-published before that. I think in 2012 it was self-published. You can get it in a different edition, which I think was out from 2012, but I think now Hodescape have taken over and this is the edition that you'll be able to get it in. This is the Hodescape version. This is an art copy, but it will come out in hardcover, I assume. And I think it actually has already come out. I think it might have come out on the 13th or something around then, so it should be out by the time this video is up. This story is just so good. It's so good, guys. It just has so many elements that make it fantastic, that make it so different to a lot of stuff I've read and make it so spectacular. It's easy to read, it's fun to get into, the characters are fantastic. If you know the Hetty J series, which is here, it's behind me, I loved the characters in that. I thought they were spectacular. The Robin Hobb series that I've been reading, I love the characters in that, but these characters I also love. They weren't as developed as the Robin Hobb ones because they are not in like 800-page books. This is a 400-page standalone from what I understand. I don't know if there will be a second one or not. If there is, I'm going to buy it. Whatever else she brings out, I'm going to buy it. Like, I love her stuff. It's amazing. This is her debut book. It was phenomenal. It was fantastic. I need to breathe and calm down, but honestly this is one of the best books I've read all year, and one of the best books I've ever read in sci-fi, like the best book I've ever read in sci-fi. So what's it all about, I hear you asking? Let me tell you. When I got this book I had not really seen or heard much about it because although it was already out I only knew one other person who had enjoyed it, and that was Catherine from the Android's Conundrum. I'll put a link to her channel down below. I knew that she really enjoyed this book, so she was the only other person that I knew who'd actually read it before the Hodescape edition was about to come out. But I did see Hodescape tweeting a lot about the edition, and I thought the cover is stunning, as I'm sure you guys will agree. It's actually very beautiful the whole way around. They also kindly sent me this board game to play as well if I want to, which I haven't cut out and played yet, but now that I've read the book I feel as though I could. Anyway, what is the book about? Keep on track, keep on track. From the front cover of this book I thought it was going to be a kind of really sad and lonely and forlorn story, because as you can see the cover is like this gigantic cosmic sky, and then this tiny lone figure is sort of standing on her own, standing on this hill silhouetted, and so I thought it was going to be a really sad, forlorn sort of story. And the long title, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, it just sounded a bit sad. I was very wrong. It's very funny, it's very engaging, it's very entertaining. Basically, we follow a character called Rosemary as she ships out onto this ship. She has always lived on Mars, that's where she grew up, that's where she comes from. Her family is there and they're quite rich and they're quite influential, but she wants to get away from them due to something that happened with her father fairly recently, and you find that out in the book. And so she has signed on to go and work on this crew and get away from everything she's ever known and basically travel around the universe with them, creating wormholes, because that's what they essentially do, is they go around and they create wormholes and they allow people to jump from one part of space to another a lot quicker and things like that, and that's basically the purpose of their crew. But the story is so much more than that. In this story we see various different characters who we meet. We have the captain of the ship, we have the navigator, we've got the doctor, we've got the chef, we've got the engineer, we've got all of these different types of roles, and each of the characters who fulfills those roles is super interesting in their own right. Some of them are really grumpy, some of them are really happy, some of them are really upbeat, some of them are very mysterious, some of them are very creepy, some of them are just funny. Altogether, they're a very bizarre crew. Not only that, but some of them are aliens. which is a kind of major factor. Some of them are aliens. Different types of aliens live on board this ship. We're in an age where space travel is pretty normal. People live on different planets and they travel around quite a lot via spaceship. We have alien races that we are cooperating with in the solar system and who are either more advanced than us or less advanced, but they are part of our community. And some of them have sort of racial slurs against them. Some people don't like certain aliens and don't like certain races, but equally some of them are really intelligent and some of them are really clever and some of them don't like humans. So it's a really interesting look at society. It's a very interesting look at the dynamics of this new world, which is actually kind of like a metaphor for our own world. There is different sexual orientations explored in this, which I was not expecting, but I loved. It's very diverse in the way that it approaches things. It gives you a lot of different viewpoints. There are some characters who are quite stereotypical and they kind of are set in their ways and a little bit prejudiced, and other characters who are really open-minded and really non-bigoted and that sort of thing, and really open to anything and everything and trying anything and everything. You have such a diverse range of characters, you have such a diverse range of species that you are following, and each species feels totally and utterly convincing. It feels as though Becky Chambers, the author, knows these species inside out, because when she describes them, she knows a lot about how they live, she knows about the communities they come from, she knows about the rituals that they do, she knows about how they interact with their different race members, she knows about the hierarchy, and you learn all of these things about all of the different characters. You do get to learn their backstories as you're going. Basically, they are on this big mission to travel a very long journey to a planet where there's a massive war going on, and they're trying to go there so that they can create a shortcut from there to other parts of space in order for these people who live on this planet a long, long way away, who've always been at war, for them to basically connect and join in with the rest of the society. But this is not about the story of them going there and creating a wormhole. This is about the journey it takes them on to get there, because it's such a long and vast amount of space that they've got to travel through, because it's space, that there's so much stuff that happens, and they stop at different planets on the way and they come across different types of people and they visit different places. And we don't necessarily follow just Rosemary, we follow all the members of the crew, but Rosemary is the one who's most similar to us, because even though she isn't necessarily an Earthling, she is from Mars and she's human, and so we know immediately that she is more like us than most of the other people on the crew. But there are some fantastic, fantastic characters in this. It is just so brilliantly written, it's so well thought out, so many things happen that I didn't expect, that I wasn't prepared for, that I was just happy with, and everything goes the way that I want it to, but I didn't even know that I wanted it to. Like, I wasn't expecting it to go the way it did, but it was just perfect the way that she concluded everything and the way that she brought it all together. I think there could potentially be room for a second one in the series, so I would love that. If there was going to be one, I would love it. Or if she just wanted to set something else in this same sort of society-based solar system, I suppose, I would love that, because I would read it. But seriously, whatever she brings out next, I would read, because she's just phenomenal. Some of the other things that are kind of controversial, interesting topics that she covers within this book really, really well are sort of sexual preferences, as I said, but also deformities and different genders, different ideals, and it deals with so many of the issues that we see in today's world, but on a cosmic level and a very, very fun level. And I just felt so connected to it and so into the story. It was just sucking me in and making me intrigued and making me excited, because it was so different and so fun to everything I've read before in the sci-fi genre. And so this was just captivating from the first sentence. It honestly just drew me in so quickly, and I think after about 50 pages I was just hooked. I did not want to put it down. I was loving it, and I did read the majority of this in one day. I started it on one day and then I finished it the next day, but I started it in the evening and finished it in the morning, so yeah, I enjoyed this immensely. It was fantastic. So some of the characters that I really, really liked. Rosemary herself is a clerk, and she comes on board the ship in order to help them out because they've had a bit of a filing issue and they're a bit behind on paperwork and things like that, so that's why she gets on board the ship. And I definitely felt like it had vibes of both Firefly and the Ketty J series. Like, if you like either of those things, you'll love this. Read it. Read it right now, especially since it's a standalone. You can definitely fit this in, guys. You can definitely fit it in. Some of the other characters are Kizzy and Dr. Chef. I loved both of them. Kizzy is this really quite insane, batty character. She's very fun, she's very flighty, she's an engineer, and she kind of lives in her own world a lot of the time with all the mechanical stuff and all the wires and bits and bobs, and she has her own sort of language that she talks and speaks when she's talking about all these engineering problems and things like that, she really goes off into it and she's away with the fairies essentially, but she's just a great character. She's very humorous and she's actually quite sensitive as well, and I just loved her. Dr. Chef is an alien. He is the chef on board and he is really cool. He's a very nice guy, very understanding, and he just is really funny at times as well. I really enjoyed the sections where he and Sissix, who's another alien, a kind of bird-like alien, she and he were having a conversation about how humans were and how they felt humans did all these unnecessary things and were quite silly and fickle with some of the things they did. I loved that because I agreed with them. I was like, you know what, the aliens can see humans even better than we can, and it's just really funny to think of it from the point of view of an alien. So I loved both of them. I also really loved the captain, Ashby, and I loved P, who was a friend of his, and the way that their relationship developed over the course of the book. I really enjoyed that. I also loved the way that the captain gradually built up more and more trust from his crew, and I loved Rosemary and Sissix together. They were just fantastic friends, and it was just enchanting and excellent to see them and see the way that their relationship unfolded as well. Rosemary really did integrate quite quickly into the crew. There were a few who were a little bit less likeable, maybe, like Corbin, but I understood why his story was less likeable, and you do get revelations about his past that make you kind of interested in him. Jenks was really great. He was like a dwarf type alien, and he has this AI which is called Lovey, and he and this AI are kind of in love with each other, and that's a really interesting point of the book. And then we have Ohan, or Ohan, I'm not sure how you say it, but that one was such an interesting character because it's not actually just one character, it's like a character who is made up of two characters or two personalities, like a kind of split personality disorder or a virus has infected him, kind of like The Host from Stephanie Meyer, if you guys have read that. Similar sort of idea, but done so much better, like way better. And that was such a touching and mysterious storyline with him that I found just fascinating throughout. I just felt for all of the characters, like I thought they were all spectacular. They were all so well developed, they all felt real, even in such a short amount of pages. They all felt real, they all felt convincing, they all had the backstory, they all had their own motivations and their own ideas, and they were just great. It was just so good. It was just so good. It was just so good, guys. So good. I loved the kind of teasing and prodding conversations that they kept up, and the constant natter and chatter that was always ongoing with someone on the crew. And by the end of the book, they did feel like actual people to me, not just characters. The plot, as I said, is so much more than just a settling into this new crew and new adventures story. It's like an exploration of the whole solar system. They go all over the place. They come to different planets. They see different cultures. They see different alien types. They see all of these crazy inventions that have happened. It's so cool. It feels so expansive. It feels so like everything is going on, like she's thought about every element. Even though you don't see it all in this amount of pages, you know that she's thought about it, and you can sense that it feels like a real living, breathing, working society to her, and I think that comes across in her writing style so easily. We see the dangers and the trials that they face on this long haul mission. They're on a really long journey, and so obviously naturally things are going to go wrong when you're travelling hundreds of thousands of millions of miles across space in a little ship. Things are going to go wrong. They do. You see them. You see the way the crew deals with it. You see what happens. You see how the dynamics change and shift and get stronger. And I loved it. I loved it so much. We get questions of morality and mortality and sexuality and gender equality and many other massive big issue type topics. We get thoughts about sentience of AI, and we get all of these really big debatable topics are sort of subtly squeezed in, and they don't seem like they're forced in, they're just subtly part of the story. And when you start to think about it, you're like, oh my god, it contains so much cool stuff. It contains everything that the world is questioning. It contains all of these really big ideas and ideals and questions that you don't really think about, but when you have this book you kind of can think about them from a different perspective, because you're seeing them from the perspectives of the humans and the perspectives of the aliens and the perspectives of the governing body of the solar system, and all of this stuff is just crazy. It's so good. So much is packed into this little book. It's a little book, but it's great. Everything in it was perfect. Everything felt so good. The fluidity and cohesiveness of the plotline was just fantastic. I never felt confused. I always felt like I knew what was going on. Even all the sciencey bits and bobs, they weren't that technical. They weren't too in-depth that I couldn't understand them, so don't worry about that. Sci-fi is a little bit hard to get into sometimes, but This one wasn't. It was easy, it was approachable. I feel like anyone could read this and enjoy it. I honestly feel as though if you've never read a science fiction book in your life but you want to give it a try, try this one. It's fantastic. It is awesome. I feel like everyone could be able to connect to some of the characters on this ship. It is just captivating. It's just stunning, exhilarating, brilliant, vibrant, full of life, full of fun, full of excitement. Have I convinced you guys yet? Have I convinced you? Because I feel like I've just been sitting here and rambling and just, it's so good though. It honestly is. It's one of the best books I've ever read. Definitely the best science fiction book I've ever read. And I would highly recommend it. So naturally, you guys can already assume that you know I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I adored it, I loved it, and I cannot wait to see what Becky Chambers does in the future. I hope she continues to write more stuff and bring it out because I would love her to. I think she did an expert job with this, and I can't wait to see what happens next with her and with her books and with her writing career. So I would love to hear your thoughts. If you guys have never heard of this, let me know. Are you going to go and buy it? Please, please do. I'm not just saying this, I'm not being paid or told to endorse it or anything. They sent it to me to review and my review is that it's fantastic. Thank God they sent it to me, otherwise I would have been missing out, guys. I would have been missing out. So yeah, one of my all-time favourite books, 100% loved it, and I hope you guys do too. Let me know your thoughts if you've read it. I'd love to discuss this with you. It's just wonderful. 5 out of 5 stars from me. Let me know your thoughts and I will see you all again soon in another video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat about books.